Hey everybody, Nick here. Hope everyone's doing well. So in today's video, I'm just going to be talking about how everything is a distraction as to what's really going on in the world. And normally I do a lot of my own research and I check out more things and watch videos and read different perspectives on and about the world in which we live. And my personal belief from everything that I've started to learn about and gone down the rabbit holes about, I do believe that the world is being controlled by a small group of people, probably the most wealthy class, but it goes pretty deep. You'd have to really kind of go down the same rabbit holes as I did. But anyway, in this life, in this world that we live, there are so many distractions. I mean, the 9 to 5 job is a distraction itself. The whole system is designed to keep us distracted from asking questions, from taking action on a lot of issues that actually matter. I'll give you an example. There's one theory that I'm not sure if you guys have heard of, but there's the what do you call it? The circus theory. I think it's the Roman circus theory, also known as the bread and circus theory, which is essentially that this started at least from the Roman times, the Roman Empire, that if in order for them to control everything and do what they wanted without any pushback, they would just give free bread or food and throw these extravagant parties or circuses, like shows and things like that, the gladiator shows that they would do, just to keep everyone occupied and happy and dumbed down, so that the majority of the population would not question things. It worked pretty well for the Romans, kept the people at bay for a long time. I mean, the Roman Empire started turning into an oligarchy as well, like most of the world today that we live in, like the United States and things like that. It's becoming an oligarchy. Many countries have already become that, which means that a small group of people with most of the wealth get to decide the policy of the nation, and it's not the government's. The government is simply a pawn. Russia, I believe, is like that. Certain countries are like China it's not communist. It's a whole other thing. U.S. has become a corporate, what do you call it? Corporate oligarchy or technocracy, whatever. There's many different names for it. But essentially is the government no longer works for the people. And it's these small group of, donors, the donor class and the very wealthy, ultra wealthy, who are running the show, essentially, running policy. That's why you see a lot of different things get passed that, in hindsight, most of the people would not agree with. A lot of people would just be like, "What the hell is this?" But I think that they're using the same tactics that the Romans who ran the Roman Empire are using as well, which is distraction tactics. Not necessarily giving out free food, but they are giving a lot of crappy food, junk food, which is essentially dumbs down the brain, doesn't allow you to think clearly. It's not nutritional or nutritious. And then you get like the alcohol, which is in abundance, a crazy abundance, and relatively cheap depending on what it is that you drink, but easy accessible as well, which really keeps the population dumbed down. They've put fluoride in the water, which has been basically proven now that it does nothing for your teeth, which was the excuse that it would help protect your teeth. It does nothing for your teeth, but rather it damages the brain or the pineal gland, something to do with that. But it really does dumb down the population and blocks critical thinking. Sure, there are dumb people anyway. I mean, that's just a reality. There's just not intelligent people. But it also works on everybody. So the smart people who are drinking the regular tap water and I remember they did a campaign about saying that like New York water was the cleanest and that people should drink it and this and that, which is probably not true. I mean, look at Flint, Michigan, where the water was contaminated and then the US government was being persuaded to fix the problem, and a lot of children were getting lead poisoning because of the old piping. And then I remember former President Obama went there and like they did this huge PR BS. And I mean, you guys could look it up and see for yourselves, but they did nothing to fix the problem. They didn't care to. But coming back to the other issue, what I was mentioning is that they want to distract the whole population. Look what's going on today. You got sports, you got movies, you got Netflix, you got all kinds of events, the Super Bowl, you got all these holidays every year. You name it, everything has become one giant distraction after another, and it keeps people stuck in this never-ending loop that, oh, we got this coming up, oh, we got this coming up, and it hits all the right centers of the brain, triggering dopamine levels, and keeps people content with the status quo. And I think that really is a strategy that is being deployed on purpose. And that's not just America, that's most of the world, because this group works in the shadows and basically controls every area, every aspect of our lives, pretty much. You can choose to believe that or not, that's up to you. I went and did the research on my own. Many of my viewers who watch my channel already know this stuff, and they're very inquisitive and intuitive. So I know you guys are pretty on the ball with this stuff, especially this video that I'm doing right now will really resonate with a lot of you. So it's very easy to see, all the distractions that basically, sports and why do you think they pay these athletes so much money? Because they want to keep it going. Sure, the business itself makes a lot of money, absolutely. Otherwise it wouldn't keep going. So it's kind of like they're killing two birds with one stone. They make a ton of money and they keep the population dumbed down and distracted while the agenda rolls on, and that just suits them quite fine. I mean, even sugar I think I mentioned this in another video, it's a drug that keeps people dumbed down as well. And a lot of things going wrong in this world. And there seems to be no change unless people realize that all these different distractions really don't mean anything in the grand scheme of things in this world. They're really just kind of like elective extras, as I like to call them. Nothing wrong with sports, nothing wrong with if you like watching or whatever, but I think you have to have a balance. You have to sort of be aware that what's happening, But most of the public is like asleep, so it's a really effective tactic to keep people from reacting to certain situations. Sure, they do react to the obvious things that are right in our faces, kind of like political stuff. So the US elections is very soon. I think it's like next week at the time of recording this. And people don't realize it's like two sides of the same coin. So it really isn't going to make a difference. I touch on this about like people wanting a hero, and they anoint a specific political leader to be their hero and to save them and fix all their problems. Again, this is another distraction for, to keep going in the system, and so people don't react and don't actually awaken to what's going on. Sure, there are a lot of people who are seeing what's going on, like myself and a lot of my viewers here, but it's not enough to really, really change things. I think there has to be even more of a massive awakening. It is a hard thing to want to accept. I get that. The truth is sometimes not always pleasant, and not sometimes always, that's an oxymoron, is sometimes not pleasant. But unfortunately, we have to face it head on. Otherwise, we're never going to change this realm, this world that we live in for the better. It's constantly one distraction after another, and the political game that goes on is just another one of those. So you see them everyone playing both sides for fools, and people just keep thinking that a vote is going to make the change. I remember one of my all-time favorite comedians, George Carlin, mentioned it doesn't make a difference, so he stays home and doesn't vote because they're all been bought and paid for long ago by the same owners of the country or the world. So he was quite aware of the bullshit that was going on, and this is back in the 90s, so it's quite 30 years or so. And he was awake to the nonsense, so it was quite obvious to him, and that's why I really like his humor. He's got the linguistics down pat. The jokes are great, and the brutal truth is just, it's unlike any other comedian out there. Another distraction that is pretty evident is the whole commercialized world, especially in America, where you can buy anything you want online. People get, their dopamine hits from buying crap online, shit they don't need with money they don't have, kind of thing. That does fit into the category, because it's kind of like, the consumer's mentality, where, I can get, I'm satisfied with everything. Everything's great. I can get this. I can do this. America is the best capitalist country, and things like that. And I'm not against capitalism. I just think it's gone. It's like morphed into some freakish version of capitalism where it doesn't work for the people really. It's become corporatized only, and these huge corporations only focus on making the billions and billions, and every quarter they have to beat the record, and it's just whatever. That's a whole other issue, but I guess people are very content because they can, they're happy with their crap, their knickknacks, and their garbage they can buy on Amazon. And that's not to say that you can't get some good stuff. Okay, yeah, sure, you need certain things, but it's gone beyond that, where people have gotten to massive credit card debt and are only really focused on having to try to get out of this debt. So they're not really focused on anything else. When your focus is diverted from the main issue and you're doing all these other things, you're never going to have time to stop and focus on the issue at hand. So it's to me, most things in this life are a distraction, and I don't know what the answer is. People have to. I don't really watch that many sports anymore. So, like, sometimes I'll watch the odd game, but I'm like, I find less interest in it because knowing what the reason for it is, and I don't know. It's just everything's a goddamn distraction. Every single thing out there, and I think you have to try and find a balance so that you're not fully distracted by this crap. It's amazing. And the information out there, that's another thing I was going to mention. Information here, information there, the news, feeding people, changing their perceptions, which basically you can control people a lot easier by controlling their perceptions or manipulating what they see. So if you're only seeing that it's like, this is the narrative. This is the narrative. And that's all there is. People are going to just believe it because they think that the institutions are telling them the truth. That's that's how they've always been there. So they can be trustworthy. They're still on the air. How do you know who's the one behind the camera wanting you to see what they want you to see? You know what I mean? It's quite evident. You have to question everything. If you don't question, you're always going to be stuck in this, darkness of not knowing what's the truth. And it's hard to disseminate what is the truth and what isn't the truth these days. I can definitely attest to that, because when I do all of my research and I, check into this and go down the rabbit hole on that, you really have to be a very good critical thinker. You have to be a very good critical thinker in order to see between the lines, to read between the lines. It's just, I'm trying to explain the best that I can, but it's hard because it took many years for me to get to this point. I was distracted too. I was distracted just like many of you were. But now I see a lot of the BS, and it is what it is. I mean, unfortunately, we're not going to have enough critical thinkers to get us through. And I'm kind of pessimistic on this issue. I don't see humanity, getting through this. I see it a totalitarian, dystopian future in our way coming up. I don't see a good future. I really don't. I'll give you a really good example. Here in Brazil, everyone is so distracted and by shiny objects, and not to say the rest of the world isn't, because they definitely are. But here specifically, I see it ever so clearly. They love their soccer. They love drinking their beer, going to the beach, and concentrating on those things, where less and less people are criticizing the government or going out and protesting. There are protests sometimes, but it's usually like some stupid thing that has nothing to do with the biggest issue. Like, I don't know. I mean, just there's so much distraction here, and people are quite content with everything. Sure, there's a lot of poverty and there's a lot of suffering and unhappiness here as well. But it seems like the status quo is just fine to them, because they can have their barbecue, they can have their beer, they can have their game, they get to watch their games. It's like, I think it's so many years of just repeating the same thing. Oh, have the beer with your, it's really, really sad. There's much less critical thinking going on here than I would say than the US. A lot of uneducated people. Education isn't everything, because again, they control those systems as well, the education system. But it does allow you to be a little bit more aware of some certain things. But if you've never gone to school and you don't, there's always exceptions to the rule, but still. So Brazil is a perfect example of like how so many people are distracted by shiny objects or things that give them the immediate gratification. It must be because this country has just been, through a lot of crap, and people don't want to rock the boat as well. There's that as well. There's people who just don't want to get involved, and I get it sometimes. But if we want to at least try to prevent a dystopian society, there's, what else? We have to all come together. It's the only thing I can think of. If we don't work together on it, forget it. And that's what they do as well. They use the tactic of divide and conquer. Divide and conquer and distract people from the bigger picture, So, I mean, here in Brazil, the social media thing is a huge addiction as well, as it is in most of the world. But I'll give you an example why people are so distracted. I mean, when X, or formerly known as Twitter, was blocked by the Supreme Court here because of, I don't even know, it's a bunch of nonsense. Nobody went and protested. Nobody made a huge fuss. Everyone just sort of accepted it. And I think that's the problem, is that a lot of people are just accepting a lot of this crap. So, yeah, I'll leave it to that. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment. Subscribe if you're new on my channel. I think it's a very good topic. The fact that humanity is very, very deeply distracted with everything. Social media. There's so many things that are distracting everybody. It's crazy. And I think balance is the key. I really do. I think balance is the key. So again, let me know what you think. I'm gonna leave it there, and I'll see you guys in the next video very, very soon. Bye for now.